Yeah, both these guys, you know, they've one of them been about for quite some time. This is DeadDraw's first ever LAN event as well. That's what you have to remember, is this guy has came essentially out of thin air, beat the 2 top players inside the season, and then qualifies, and now he's here for a really good chance of actually going ahead and winning this entire tournament.
And he seemed very calm and collected as well, James. It doesn't seem like he's been stressed. He's been enjoying the environment backstage, very relaxed. How well would you know him? How would you approach him right now mentally? How do you think he is going into his first LAN?
Well, before this year, I had actually not heard of DeadDraw that much. He mainly plays on the European server. I don't play on the European server that much. But watching him backstage, he was just playing a lot of ladder games, and the whole time he was playing backstage, he was always top 20 legend. He just kept playing games, kept winning, kept winning. He was playing really well with the control priest that he decided to bring to this tournament as well. And also looking back at the Swiss in the Premiership, he's one of the players who went 3-0 through the Swiss, so he's definitely an amazing player. Like, I've seen that firsthand from the play, and also the results that he's put up so far prove the point.
Yeah, I think so. And we can actually hear from the man himself as well. We had an interview earlier to work out what exactly is going on the enigma of the mind of his.
I'm DeadDraw, and I play for Team Viral. I started playing late 2013 when it was in open beta, and I played some online tournaments in the following year. What drew me to Hearthstone was I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a lot younger, so I already enjoyed card games. I also played chess, so I enjoyed things with strategy, and I played WoW a little bit too. So when I heard about Blizzard's strategy card game, I thought it would be perfect for me, and it was. It will definitely add some pressure playing in front of an audience, just because I've never actually been to a live tournament before, but I'm just going to do my best, and hopefully it doesn't affect my gameplay too much. It would be really amazing if I won this, because if I did win, it would really prove to me and everyone else I'm actually capable of doing this competitively.
DeadDraw saying that doesn't really bother him there. He feels quite equipped to deal with the situation, but he is going up against a caster, a lover, and a fighter in Falcone. Now, what do we expect to see from the wonderful man that's on our screens?
He's had a couple of rough last 48 hours, I would say.
He's been busy.
He literally just came back yesterday from casting the Hearthstone Global Games over in Poland. The guy gets here at about 10 o'clock, and then he doesn't have to play his game. So if you think about it, this guy could have had a little bit more preparation, but I think that Falcone, he is bringing, I would say, more stable decks that we've seen him bring throughout the Prem. There's nothing really there that screams, okay, that might be a little bit different. But yeah, if he can play his cards right, and hopefully he's picked up a couple of tricks from some of the best players in the world that he does cast, such as Sheep.
Yeah, definitely. As you talked about Falcone, he did fly in yesterday, you mentioned, but he didn't manage to play yesterday. He actually, his game was pushed back to today, and he did get a great night's sleep. So I think with the rest that he got, he might show the better side of him today.
Yeah, that's true. Who is going to be well rested and prepared when we get into the battle? But we do have the picks and bans that are now available. Let's get into this, work out the nitty-gritty of what this matchup is going to be.
All right, so first off, looking at the decks they brought, DeadDraw coming in with the Tog Druid, the Control Priest, the Even Lock, and the Odd Warrior. Falcone decides to ban out the Tog Druid because Falcone's lineup consists of the Token Druid, the Odd Rogue, the Odd Warrior, and the Even Lock, and the Tog Druid would have been good against the Odd Warrior and probably the Odd Rogue, and since he probably predicted that DeadDraw would ban out the Even Lock. Even Lock's one of the one good decks against Tog Druid. Then he decides to ban out the Tog Druid, knowing that the Even Lock would be banned from DeadDraw's side. So just looking at the remaining decks, there's the Token Druid left for Falcone, Odd Rogue, Odd Warrior against DeadDraw's Control Priest, Even Lock, and the Odd Warrior. I think this will come down to a very close series. I think this could go either way, but I think maybe DeadDraw's a little bit more favored because I can see the Token Druid having a bit of a hard time, although Token Druid is favored on paper against the Odd Warrior. The Odd Warrior does have a Whirlwind tacked in just specifically for that matchup to clear up these Whispering Wood, Soul of the Forest boards. And I've seen DeadDraw play against Token Druid on ladder, and he knows that matchup, knows the ins and outs of that matchup, and he's very good at that. And the Even Lock is very good against the Token Druid as well.
It's looking going to be a bit of a long one, I would say, if it comes to that Odd Warrior mirror matchup. And like we've seen yesterday, that can rattle on quite a bit just because of all the mechanics where you can shuffle back cards into your deck and the armor value that you get from Dr. Boom, and even just the spawning of the mechs you get from a Mega Assembly, from the hero power that Boom does give you. Token Druid is probably, I would say, the quickest one, and also Odd Rogue that Falcone has, so he is a little bit more tempo-based. But because DeadDraw is bringing these control matchups like Priest, like Warlock, and especially whenever you know that Priest has a lot of ways to deal with that Token Druid, like your Dustbreakers, like your Screams, it's going to be pretty rough for Falcone just looking at the matchups on paper.
I think that's true. This bodes for quite a lengthy series, potentially. Are you imagining this probably is going to go the whole hog with a 5-game series, or...?
I don't know. It's going to be hard. I could see Falcone starting off with Odd Warrior just because it's probably his stronger out of the 3 decks against what DeadDraw brings. DeadDraw, he may just go ahead and counter queue with an Odd Warrior as well. What are you thinking, Sheep?
I think this will definitely go to quite a long series. I don't think it's going to be a 3-0 sweep for any of them.
So no potential for the Worthquake series?
Definitely not a Worthquake series. It's going to be super close, super tight. I can see this going to a Game 5, probably 4 games at least, and we'll see how it goes. But for Falcone, I think the main talking point is if the Token Druid can get a win. Though the Token Druid is fine on paper, I think that DeadDraw knows how to play his decks well against the Token Druid. He knows his matchups, as I said, because he's been playing. These are basically his comfort decks. He's been playing a lot of Priest. I've seen. I know he talked to me a lot about the Tog Druid, although it's banned. He seemed to know a lot about the matchups in that. I haven't seen the Even Lock, but the Even Lock is quite simple to pilot. You just have to set up you have to set up the board. You have to play down the big threats. You have to keep your board clears in the Token Druid matchup. And as the Odd Warrior goes, the potential for the Odd Warrior is there is the mirror. The Odd Warrior is very good against the Odd Rogue, and because he does have those whirlwinds against the Token Druid, even if it is an unfavorable matchup.
So when you said Token Druid there at first, I thought you said Toucan. I thought you said Toucan Druid. And I was like, oh, is that the new flight?
Creating a new met with Jackie, guys.
Yeah,
this is good.
Bring out the Toucan Druid.
It'll be me and you'll start creating some Hearthstone cards.
Yeah?
Say
What,
that.
backstage? We'll whip them up, send them
Just
into Blizz.
AK-47, because that's what the kind of guns we're used to.
Yeah. Yeah, I've played the AWP card. That's a 5k. There he is. Big round. Tidy boys. Well, we are getting close to being able to dive into the action here between DeadDraw and Falcone. Before that, what are your final thoughts on this? And final ports, where are you going to be docking your boats on this one, boys? Who will you be picking, DeadDraw or Falcone, to take the series right here, right now? Who do you think?
DeadDraw. That's it. Not going to say why, just DeadDraw.
Just DeadDraw? You're just going for it hard in? James?
Go for that.
I think I'll have to go with DeadDraw. I saw him play yesterday, and I'm very impressed. And the way he talks about the game, the knowledge that he spoke about, very, very good. Although Falcone does have a chance. Like Falcone, he's been a caster, so like he plays. He basically just works in Hearthstone. Yeah, he just talks about Hearthstone ins and outs every day, every single day. All he's think about is Hearthstone, Hearthstone, Hearthstone.
Yeah.
So let's see if the knowledge can be put into the game.
The knowledge. If you can bring it out, that is going to be the question when we get underway with this one. And is that just the fact as well, the potential upset factor from DeadDraw? Is that extra unknown quantity for Falcone? Will he be fully prepared for this series, do you think?
I think that, as I said, Falcone's been a caster, right? He's been flying all over the place, so maybe not that much time to prepare, but he did talk backstage a few minutes ago, actually, that he worked out his ban strategy with Tyler from Complexity. Tyler, who's a very good player, recently qualified for the championships in LA later next month. So Falcone did hit up some pro players to help him out, so definitely wouldn't be surprised if Falcone would take this.
All right, awesome. Well, it seems like we are ready. Falcone versus DeadDraw. It's our first game of the day, and it is going to be absolutely fantastic. Demo and Green Sheep, let's have a Worthquake.
So into the first match for today, at day 2 of the ESL Premiership Finals here at EGX. Kicking things off with that Odd Warrior matchup, which I did expect to come out. Oh, this is some way to get the day started off, is with possibly the longest matchup meta that we've ever seen in the entirety of Hearthstone.
Yeah, so this is one of the few matchups that goes very long. It's definitely a fatigue matchup. So what both players want to do is basically draw Dr. Boom. Dr. Boom is one of the key cards in the deck, but I don't think it's necessarily, in my opinion, that you need Dr. Boom on turn 7. I think that even if you draw Dr. Boom a bit later, it's fine because Dr. Boom is basically the card that replenishes your resources. You have the hero power that just keeps generating resources by creating mechs, creating 1/1 rush minions, and also making your mechs have rush. But I think that more importantly, you have to hold the board and keep control of it. If you ever lose control of the board, then you can end up taking too much damage, and that could factor into the later stages of the game when you start fatiguing.
So already they have a couple of good pieces there. You can see that Falcone, he has the Elise and Zolo combo being picked up, so that's going to be to stop the fatigue happening. But the big one for DeadDraw, that he does have that Dr. Boom inside of his hand, so he's going to be able to slap that down as quick as he can on turn 7, and also because just the way that the matchup is with Warrior, Warrior doesn't have a big lot of threats that you have to deal with. For example, like an early board that you may have to deal with inside of an odd rogue potentially. It just doesn't happen in Warrior, so essentially that turn 7 is almost always going to be a free turn for DeadDraw.
Yeah, it's very important that, as I said, Dr. Boom gets picked up. You don't see Dr. Boom in Falcone's hand, so the Odd Warrior deck actually doesn't run that much card draw, so you basically just have to hope you draw Dr. Boom when you need it. Other than that, there are a lot of tools that can help with preventing fatigue. They both have very similar deck lists. DeadDraw has cards like Whirlwind to tech for the Token Druid matchup, but that's basically the only difference, whereas Falcone only has one mind control tech.
So at this stage, all they're really doing is just gaining this armor, tanking up. You can already see Falcone is almost in 50 HP. Also, an oil gets picked up, which is actually going to be pretty good here in this turn to deny that shuffle back off the Direhorn Patriarch. I believe it Matriarch. Yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah, both players run 2 Iron Beak Cows. The Iron Beak Cow's best target is this Direhorn Hatchling, the Direhorn Matriarch, the 6/9.
Yeah, they deny that, yeah.
So you really want to deny the Death Rattle effects, because this matchup, as I said, goes into fatigue, so every card that you have more than your opponent counts.
So it really comes into a combination of who is going to get the most armor and who is going to start fatiguing first.
Yeah.
Even one card may make a difference. There's a big gap between potentially you taking 9 damage a turn and you taking 10 damage. And like we talked about, turn 7, just a completely free turn for DeadDraw. Gets the Dr. Boom, can start using his hero power and doesn't have any more, you know, that tanked up. So Baku becomes a bit nullified, but still the fact that there is a 2 mana, get 7 armor inside of Dr. Boom, that's just equally as strong.
So DeadDraw also had to coin out the Dr. Boom. As I said, you don't necessarily need to coin out the Dr. Boom or play Dr. Boom on turn 7, but looking at DeadDraw's hand, he doesn't have that many threats. Like the cards you want to play down before Dr. Boom were probably Elise and the Direhorn Hatchlings, just because they're decent minions that can pressure your opponent. But he didn't have any of that left, so he just opts to go for the Dr. Boom and start generating the free resources of discovering a mech, or he can get the rush 1/1 charges that could stick on board and chip a bit of damage.
So essentially in this matchup, the way I look at it is Dynamatic becomes pretty much useless whenever they're playing against each other, because they're going to be mechs, and that's the only thing that Dynamatic doesn't do damage to is mechs. So certainly that's going to be a bit of a kick in the plan for both of them. So if you do see the Dynamatic get picked up in the delivery drone, they're not really going to pick that, and even in the Omega Assembly, it's going to hurt pretty bad, because then you're just playing a 5-mana free 4, which never really that good unless it has some crazy effect, which in fairness Dynamatic does, but against mechs doesn't have that issue.
Although, say that, but Dynamatic does have a few targets. It doesn't have a lot of targets in the mirror, but the few targets it does have is that Elise Trailblazer. So if Falcone would have opted to play down Elise Trailblazer, DeadDraw could just answer that with the Dynamatic solely, like as shown this turn. Falcone does play down the Elise Trailblazer, probably because he has the Zola the Gorgon to put another Elise in his hand, enabling him to get 2 packs in his deck, reducing the fatigue.
And another 5/5 as well. That's always going to be pretty valuable, as try and get some of the clear that DeadDraw does have inside of his deck, try and get potentially a Shield Slam if that wants to be an option, but more than likely they'll be keeping the Shield Slams for the hatchlings or for the Patriarchs that do come out of that hatchling as well, because that's really the only big taunt I would say that that these guys have. No Lich King because it's Odd Warriors, which is usually one of the better cards that you can see run more in standard. Just standard warrior with no Baku, which we haven't seen any.
Yeah, we haven't seen any. So DeadDraw this turn actually decided not to trade in the mind control attack. He could have played the Dynamatic to clear off the remaining minions. Instead, he actually uses one of his shield slams on the elite. I'm not quite sure about that. You can save that the shield slam and use it very greedily, because eventually Falcone is going to draw the Dr. Boom, and maybe he just goes a big mech. But DeadDraw just choosing to play down the second Diehorn Hatchling, hoping that Falcone doesn't have the second Owl, so he can just kill off that Diehorn Hatchling very quickly to enable that he get that Matriarch back into deck.
So I believe that DeadDraw may be eyeing up the Bulldozer, which he does have as well. So that's just going to put down another big minion, which does have the Divine Shield, so at least either trades into a minion, or we could just see the Brawl come out from Falcone as well, which wouldn't be too bad either. Instead, not going to opt for the Bulldozer, just going to go for the Hero Power and then go for, I believe that's a Spark Engineer.
It's just a Spark, okay.
No, but the 6-mana 5/1 Rush that gives you the Spark.
I'm not sure about that name.
More Arena, bro. You need to have more Arena.
Yeah, I do need to play more Arena.
I'm going to say, I think it's Spark Engineer or Drill Engineer. It's something Engineer.
It's something Engineer. Maybe it's Drill. It does have a big drill.
Yeah, it does.
But as you mentioned before, the Bulldozer was picked up by DeadDraw. Bulldozer is one of the best cards in the Odd Warrior mirror, along with Beryllium Nullifier. Beryllium Nullifier is the 7-mana 3/8 that can't be targeted by spells. That's really good.
That has Magnetic as well.
Yeah, that has Magnetic as well. That can't be targeted by cards such as Shield Slam, so it's very hard for the Odd Warrior to remove. Well, the only removal tools they have for that is potentially like Iron Beak Cowl. They can silence that effect, but as you saw before, Falcone already used both Iron Beak Cowls on the Diehorn Hatchlings. The other options were to like play the Brawl and hope you win the Brawl, or you can use the Reckless Flurry, but you don't really want to use the Reckless Flurry since it does annihilate all your armor.
Pretty unfortunate there with that. Dinomatic doesn't get the role that he needed. I'm sure he was kind of looking to see if he could kill off at least one of those minions, but both of them do survive, as I believe that the Direhorn did take the majority of that exploding bombs. And that's going to be a Giggling Inventor as well that DeadDraw does run inside his deck also, which sometimes I do find a little bit interesting inside of Odd Warrior, is that we see the Giggling. We don't see it all too often.
Yeah, so DeadDraw only runs one Giggling Inventor, if I recall. And the Giggling Inventor is not that great because it's... although it does summon two Annoytron mechs, it doesn't do that much. Of course, Giggling Inventor is a great card, but Odd Warrior has so many tools that they don't necessarily need a card such as Giggling Inventor. But it is definitely a great card, so I'm not that surprised it's in the deck.
It's better against the other decks that Falcone has.
Yeah.
Not this one, which is Odd Warrior, but certainly against the Odd Rogue and the Token Druid. Yeah, Giggling's going to be a pretty big swing inside of those matchups, which we don't know if we'll see that later. We don't know if the Odd Warrior is going to be seen again by either of these guys. Who's really going to take this? We don't know. Just looking at, just to recap, we know that Falcone has used both of his Isles, so the silence effect is gone. However, it did manage to deny the shuffle mechanic that the Direhorn does get as well, so it does enable Falcone to win in Fatigue, I believe, and also the fact that he has 2 Elises inside of the deck. So certainly the Fatigue game, it's going to favour Falcone, but the value game is all in the hands of DeadDraw, as he did get that Dr. Boom from the starting hand.
Yeah, definitely. So Falcone, as you said, will be winning in Fatigue, but he's currently lost control of the board and he's playing in a very defensive position. DeadDraw has all the initiative. Falcone basically just has to try regain his board position by using this Brawl along with the Direhorn Hatchling. He plays the Direhorn Hatchling because and the Brawl, because he definitely wants the Diehorn Hatchling to die and then not to get owled, so he can continue on the Fatigue game plan. And as he said, he did owl both Diehorn Hatchlings, and he did play the Elise and the Zola, so he's ahead in Fatigue by quite a bit. Though he has not drawn that Dr. Boom yet, and he's slowly running out of good plays to make during his turns.
Yeah, and also looking at it, there's only 2 board clears there for Falcone inside the Brawl and also inside of the Reckless Flurry. So certainly that Bulldozer, if he can play that Bulldozer just by itself, that's going to be pretty strong, if I do say so. Weaponized Pinata, card we don't see all too often. I'm curious to see what we get out of that Pinata. It'll be something good for DeadDraw, something possibly bad for Falcone.
Generally, it's not a great card because it's not greatly statted. You get a random legendary minion, but in matchups such as the Odd Warrior Mirror, you just don't really care about the stats on the minion. You just care about having the minion and also getting another card that you potentially can play.
Get out of that.
Just anything really, like just a playable legendary. Just there's so many legendaries that are normally bad, but
Dr. Morgan. Cross my fingers for Dr. Morgan.
I don't even know what Dr. Morgan is.
Didn't play Puzzle Labs.
I did play Puzzle Labs, I just don't remember what it
She's
is.
the 8-mana 5/5 legendary for Warlock that shuffles her back into the deck whenever she dies and replaces it with another minion. And that's where we get like the infinite knife juggler deck that's been going about in the ladder.
I haven't seen that one myself, but you have to show me later.
She playing NA, that's probably why.
I don't really play the interesting decks.
That's
and yeah,
pretty good.
Grumble is very good because this allows DeadDraw to get even more value out of his cards, although he does have a full hand right now, so he will have to end up playing a few cards before he can play that Grumble later on. But Grumble will definitely be good later in the game when DeadDraw manages to stick a board full of valuable minions, such as this Giggling Vector, say perhaps, and Grumble that back into the hand.
So the big old Bulldozer does get played, and because he goes for that trade, he loses a Divine Shield, so certainly tank up Reckless Flurry does seem to be the right play, I would say, that Falcone is looking to have, and then he can also follow that up with another hatchling. So this is still Fatigue Battle, all in Falcone's favor. He has everything going right for him at this stage. But still, we know that DeadDraw, he has all of these big threats, and he keeps creating them with Dr. Boom. And also looking at it, he could also go for the Faceless Manipulator on to the Direhorn Hatchling and potentially get himself even more shuffle back into the deck. And then it just closes, just narrowly closes that fatigue gap between both of them.
So I think DeadDraw right now is very happy with his position. Falcone was forced to use one of his Reckless Furies to just clean up that Bulldozer, the mind control tech board. Still, Falcone hasn't drawn the Dr. Boom. He does, in fact, play the Elise pack. He has got the Charged Devil Sword, which is an amazing card right now, just to clear up the board. And back to DeadDraw. Let's see what his options are. He does have this Azalina Soul Thief, but I don't think you necessarily have to. Either player has to Azalina just as yet, because they do have multiple other options in their hand that they can dump before they want to take the other person's hand. I think DeadDraw definitely, every turn you want to be clicking that hero power button because it's just a free resource basically.
You also seen from the pack that Volcano did get opened up, so that's going to be another good board clear for Falcone, which at the moment he does kind of need. He used quite a bit of clear at the moment. He used the Brawl, he used the Reckless Flurry. So yeah, certainly, you know, still options that he kind of needs to go for with the Volcano if he needs to. There's the Missile Launcher being deployed as well.
Yep,
it's a pretty interesting card.
Along with the Eternium Rover, so this actually makes a big minion. It also clears up the board. Falcone currently has a minion on board while DeadDraw hasn't got anything. And DeadDraw's hand has quickly fizzled out. He hasn't got that many good plays. He has a lot of removal. He's drawn both of his shield blocks. Shield blocks aren't played in this matchup because you don't really want to be drawing cards because you don't want to be losing in fatigue. Every card you draw means one less card in your deck to lose it in fatigue.
So I would imagine that Reckless Flurry that DeadDraw has, I highly doubt he's going to be using that at all, because that's, you know, it's a lot of armor gain that he has, and certainly that armor gain will come into play, especially whenever he's behind inside of the fatigue matchup. Could go for delivery drone, see what he could potentially pull from that if it's going to be anything pretty big. I'd more than likely, I'm sure, he would be looking for a card like Dozer, but instead he will be going for that Azalina Soul Thief, and sees it. There is a little bit of, you know, junk inside that hand that Dino Mancy's never going to get played. Oh, pick the Megaphone, do it. Pick it.
I think Megaphone might actually be the pick, because it was just a 10-10 rush minion, but he chooses to use to get the weaponized Pinata, because maybe you get a better legendary out of your hand. And yes, everything every mech DeadDraw plays does have rush, so if he's low on removal tools such as the shield slams, the reckless flurries, you can't always just use the mechs and just rush them in. That's the big benefit of having Dr. Boom versus not having Dr. Boom.
So see what he gets from the Stonehill. I'm sure he's probably fishing for potentially a Lich King is always going to be the best taunt that you could ask for in that scenario. Instead goes for the bigger minion inside of the Hungry Etten, which, you know, a good 5/9, pretty sticky to deal with, but still, you know, looking at DeadDraw, he does have that Volcano that he got from Azalina, that Falcone got from the Nguru pack. So he has another way of board clear also, and could potentially combo that with the Pinata, so he could go Pinata plus the Volcano, clear the board, and also get himself a legendary as well. But then again, that just gives Eternium Rover a lot of armor.
So tracking back to the Azalina turn, so the reason DeadDraw decided to Azalina because he had a lot of dead cards in his hand. He had both the shield blocks, which were unplayable. His hand size was very big, so eventually he'd be running into hand problems, because you have to play down the Elise Trailblazer. Eventually you'll draw that pack, and you need space in your hand to open that pack with. And seeing as the Falcone had just opened his own Ungoro pack the turn before, DeadDraw realizes that there will probably be, most likely be playable cards in Falcone's hand, so he just opts to Azalina and steal it.
There's that Beryllium Nullifier that you did mention. It is a pretty good card to get inside of this mirror matchup. Reckless Flurry as well, which we talked about, is never really going to get played by DeadDraw at this stage, where he has the majority of the armor matchup. But you can see Falcone, he's starting to climb back up there, up to 10 armor. I can kind of see this plus the ping potentially. He could go for that play if he wanted to as well. Just goes for the charge in, gets the Tess. What does she really do? What do you play? Any card you got from the Ungoro pack? I think that's it.
Yes, I think there's it.
So what, Volcano? If they play Volcano. That's it really, isn't it? And the other ones were neutral.
Yeah, the ping actually can't clear off the Beryllium Nullifier, so he does. DeadDraw actually does have to equip the Super Collider and trade in, just to clean up the Beryllium Nullifier. You never want to leave a Beryllium Nullifier on board, because it can get magnetic by cards such as Ziliax, and if somehow Falcone does get another Beryllium Nullifier off like Dr. Boom later on in the game, then it could just be a minion that would be impossible to clear.
So finally the Volcano gets played, so that clears off the board, and then also could give Tess some value. I know that whenever we were discussing yesterday, we were looking at my collection, you're like, why do you have that card?
Yeah.
I like Tess, I like her. She's fun.
Yeah, she is definitely a fun card.
Of course, you want to climb and get all your legend points and go to DreamHacks and lose DreamHacks.
I'm a big fan of winning, and Tess just doesn't win enough games for me.
I like APM Priest, that's fun. I like winning with that. It took us a while to win.
I did like APM Priest. Like I thought it was good at first. Players like Dog were playing that on ladder, and they were doing very well, but I think it might have been just like the first week of the expansion.
I played it yesterday for the first time, and it was DeadDraw who made it for me. And we just played it, and I don't know how many times I messed up, and he just laughed at me.
Yeah, like the first times I messed up a few times. I think I messed up like 5 times before I got.
I don't think anybody's gone it first time. There's no way anybody can get it first time. It's impossible.
I think that maybe if you practice it
against the Innkeeper.
Or like, there's actually a simulation thing online that you can test your APM skills out. Want to check that out, anyone, if they're interested in APM Priest. But back to this game.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, we've totally gone off track, haven't we? But not much going on here.
Just a big minion, really, played by Falcone. That's about it.
Yeah, Falcone is just going to continue playing his big minions. He did pick up, what was that called? A Furious Etin, I think?
Yeah,
the 7 mana, 7/9.
Because then there's the Hungry Etin, which is his brother.
So, yeah, is it actually?
Let's go with that.
Okay.
One of them's from Kobolds, and then one of them's from Witchwood.
Sure, we'll go with that. But yeah,
There's S.
Falcone did open both his Ongoro packs, if I remember correctly, so doesn't have any of those left in deck. So the only thing he's really looking for is that Dr. Boom, really.
That was literally just an 8-mana Volcano that he just played with no overload, so well, it's like play, test, and die. Bit of an odd one there.
Yep.
An odd one in an odd warrior matchup.
Nice one.
That sounds like a bell to me. Ding! Another big minion. There is finally that Furious Etin that we did see get picked up quite a while ago from the Stonehill.
Yep. So DeadDraw is running out of removal. He does have the Discover a Mech, so maybe he can discover a mech that kills off the Furious Etin, but he gets since he did Azalina beforehand, we're in the spot where both players have Azalina in their hand, so they can go for this really weird infinite Azalina play, because whenever you play an Azalina, you're going to get your opponent's Azalina, and if Falcone plays his Azalina,
yeah,
you get DeadDraw's Azalina.
Imagine if both of them were 0 mana cost Azalinas. That's scary.
Yeah, that is scary. But this is definitely going to be a weird game because
this is a long game.
They both will know each other's hands, so they have to work off what they have in hand, basically.
But then again, do each of them just want to keep playing a 7-mana free each turn? I don't think so. That's kind of like the illogical play I see, because I think then neither of them are going to kill each other.
The thing is, you want to dump as many cards in your hand because you want your opponent to have less value off your Azalina. But if you're ever running out of cards, then you will Azalina yourself just to clean it up. So Falcone will know that there should be a Volcano in hand, and the Volcano does just clear off this board really nicely.
Yeah, infinite Volcanoes in an Odd Warrior matchup. So there's the first Matriarch that did come out of that hatchling that DeadDraw actually did Faceless Manipulator back then. So that's going to be another threat that Falcone has to deal with. Does have his own Volcano, which he can go for and clear that off. And there's another Matriarch, which Falcone has picked up. That's his second one and his final Matriarch inside of his deck, I do believe.
Oh, Mega Assembly is a really big pickup by DeadDraw. More so for DeadDraw because since Falcone has eventually won this board, DeadDraw would have needed those mechs just to answer this Dahon Matriarch, otherwise he would be taking quite a bit of damage. A 6-mana 6/9 is nothing to be like scoffed at. Does do a lot of damage.
Spark Drill. It's no engineer.
Spark Drill.
I'm incorrect.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a drill.
It was
you
a
got
drill.
half of it right.
And I said spark.
Yeah.
So we just had to like kind of put the pieces together. But either way, it's still a pretty bad card. Yeah. Let's be real here.
But he does choose to use it just to try and break down the Matriarch as best as possible and clean up the turn following. But Falcone will be able to push the 6 damage through, which will matter in the long run since Falcone is the one who is winning in fatigue. DeadDraw has less cards in his deck since both of his hatchlings did get out. But Falcone still hasn't drawn that Dr. Boom, and this Dr. Boom is shaping out to be a really big benefit to DeadDraw, because if he did not have that Dr. Boom, then I think he'd be really far behind at this point.
So there's the Ziliax being picked up by DeadDraw as well. So Ziliax, a very staple card, I would say, inside the meta. One of the better ones that we've gotten outside of the Boomsday, which I do believe that's the best neutral class card that we got outside of the Boomsday. In terms of legendaries, not the Giggling, which I would say is a lot better than that, but certainly Ziliax, he's found his way into the meta with these new mechs being added in, mostly just because he provides so much value that you can get out of that. Divine Shield, plus the taunt, plus the lifesteal, I would say is lifesteal's more important out of them. So yeah, Ziliax, very good pickup. Could come into a bit of deciding factor if they can get it onto, you know, a pretty good minion potentially. You know, Bulldozer with the Ziliax.
Yeah.
That's a lot of heal. That's 12 heals you're getting per hit. So
the one thing I really liked about the expansion is, like you said, the cards like Ziliax. It's a whole new mechanic, right? Magnetic. Yeah. I'm a really big fan of Magnetic because basically you can play it as a minion, or you can play it like a buff spell. Like
it's like a Blessing of Kings. That's why I say War Gear. It's like a 5-mana Blessing of Kings that has plus 5/5.
Yeah, or you just play it as minion separately if you wanted to. So it's just a very versatile mechanic, and I think that later on,
hope we see some more expansions adding in some new mechs as well.
I think, yeah, I think that Magnetic isn't that great right now because the mechs in the current pool of the cards isn't that great. But I think later on, you know, if Blizzard decide to release more mechs, then Magnetic will be one of the very.
It's the same way that Rush has kind of found itself in as well, being deployed inside the Witchwood, and then it's continued on through Boomsday, whereas Echo wasn't.
Falcone finally picks up this Dr. Boom, so we're going to see a lot more action right now, because Falcone beforehand was just playing off the top of his deck. Now he'll be able to discover these mechs and maybe find his way back into the game.
Talking about mechs, that Pilot Reaper isn't one that I don't think we've ever really seen play at all.
Yep, so at the beginning, a few people were actually hyping up this card because they thought it's like, oh, 4 mana 4/3. It's like Piloted Shredder. Yeah. That was the card. I never forgot the name. I'm really bad with names. But they were like, oh, this might be the next Piloted Shredder. But you see, with Piloted Shredder, you actually got a 2-drop that was outside of the game, whereas Piloted Reaper, it actually takes a resource out of your hand. So it's not a free resource. The big thing about Piloted Shredder was that it gave you that free minion outside of the game, so it wasn't using up any of your resources, whereas Piloted Reaper pulls it from your hand, and it's also random. So maybe if you have a 2-drop in your hand that has a battle cry, that won't go off, so it's definitely significantly worse. But from a mech, as a mech from the Dr. Beam Hero Power, it's not that bad. It's just a 4 mana 4/3 rush, and potentially pulls out another minion that has a rush from your hand for free.
Skaterbot that you were talking about is, you know, not too bad as, you know, kind of like a 1-drop. I like Skaterbot. I think it's, you know, pretty good. Just gets a minion down onto the board and, you know, can kind of just make something. You know,
this Brilliant Nullifier is actually insane. It was so amazing because he just plops down onto the big 9/9 already on board. This is now a 12/17 untargetable minion. Falcone does not have any brawls in hand, and DeadDraw should know this because
he has his hand.
Yeah, he basically has a replica of his hand, and the brawls were used beforehand.
Oh, you can see kind of like the facial expressions change in Falcone, where you can see him, he's kind of, you know, rubbing his head, rolling his eyes. I don't think DeadDraw's moved. He's just like kind of like a picture.
Yeah, he's just very stoic, isn't he?
Sitting there.
But Falcone, he did draw the Dr. Boom. That was a vital point in the game. Maybe a bit too late because he ended up running out of resources to deal with DeadDraw's big minions. And this 12/17 just looks like it's going to stick on board forever unless Falcone finds a miracle, basically, because I'm not sure what mechs can actually kill off a 12/17. He need like something with poisonous.
The only one there is the Venomancer, but that's in Hunter.
Yeah, it's very tough right now.
But to be fair,
maybe you can just chip it down over a few turns. We'll just keep firing mechs in, just sacrifice them to this giant.
But then again, you can see in hand that DeadDraw also has the Bronze Gatekeeper, which gives that thing an extra +5 health also.
Yeah. So DeadDraw can just keep pumping this minion. It's basically like Combo Priest, isn't it? You just keep, you stick a minion, just keep.
I played that yesterday as well. I had a 76/76 on Parchstein bot in turn 5, on turn 5. Yeah, poggers. Also, the only thing that Falcone really has going for him beside this massive minion is the fact that DeadDraw, he is on his last card. He's going to start fatiguing soon as well, but by the time that happens, Falcone will more than likely be dead. Yeah, this is rough.
So Falcone does have this mind control tech, so if DeadDraw ever plays it down another minion, maybe he has the potential to steal the big untargetable minion. But I don't think that DeadDraw will ever play into that because he himself knows there's mind control tech, and unless he just forgets what the mind control tech does, I don't think he'll ever play into it. But maybe there's a possibility of Falcone putting minions on DeadDraw's board. What cards would do that? I think it's just
There's nothing that I can think of that puts cards over on the other side of the board.
It's the warrior card can do it. The raptor.
Oh, Cornered Sentry.
Corner Sentry. That summons the raptor.
But you have to get that from Stonehill.
I'm not sure how you can get that.
You can only get it from Stonehill, which he doesn't have.
Yes.
Because naturally that's a 2-mana card.
He also used the Stonehill before, early in this game, and yeah, I don't think he can get it.
Yeah, and also another thing as well, that DeadDraw, he also got the delivery drone this turn, so another potential big magnetic minion could also be picked up here. I'm sure anything magnetic, DeadDraw's going to pick it. That would be, you know, my kind of thought process.
The good thing for Falcone is that DeadDraw has hit fatigue, so he will start taking fatigue damage every single turn. And
but then again, that lifesteal,
yep,
even after the fatigue chips down the armor, which will be another at least 4 turns. Yeah, by then that thing's probably going to be, what, like 100.
DeadDraw does have to keep in mind that there is an Azalina in Falcone's hand, so he just has to make sure he doesn't pick anything that could potentially harm this this minion.
The way I look at it is if Falcone plays the Azalina, that just gives DeadDraw free turn because it's only a 7-mana free.
It does give him
really,
a free
it does
turn.
nothing. It does nothing. What does they get? Really, the only thing that Falcone would want would be the giggling to try and slow it down as much as he can. But then again, he can't play it.
He really just has to go for that because his hand was doing a whole lot of nothing.
Nothing.
He actually does get the Stonehill from DeadDraw's hand. We were talking about how Falcone could get the Stonehill to get that Cornered Sentry.
Yep.
Does actually get the Stonehill, which he can also play this turn. He doesn't get the Cornered Sentry though. Just very unfortunate.
He's right in the right there, Stubborn Gastropod. But then again, that's just going to get pinged off, so.
Yeah. Stubborn Gastropod is the poisonous taunt, but there's so many ways for DeadDraw to deal with it. It's only a 1/2. It's just such a
super
small minion. Like any mech that can just rush into it. Could even bulldozer it into it if he wants to. Just bulldozer this tiny snail out all the way.
Poor little Steve.
Steve the snail.
Yeah. Do you call him Steve? I call him Steve.
I'll go Steve.
I love whenever I see clips of Steve killing a Deathwing.
Oh, good on him, Steve.
Okay then.
It's like neither of them have cards. The enemy has a 12/12 Deathwing, and then he top decks a Steve. And it's like,
yeah, he just slapped the Deathwing down, just burnt his entire hand.
That's pretty embarrassing that a snail can kill the Dragon Lord.
Yeah, it is pretty embarrassing.
It's a bit of a WoW reference there for anybody, any WoW fans.
But yeah, it's really looking bleak for Falcone right now. Just couldn't find a way to kill off the minion.
I believe that's gonna be game, more or less. I think so.
Well,
Dynamatic does the only thing which we talked about.
Falcone can put up a big taunt wall, but there are enough minions to break it down with the mind control tech and the rush.
Yeah, and you can even just play the Giggling Inventor to get those mechs
Small
to get rush as well. You know, that's pretty good for potentially popping other Divine Shields.
Hero power that he can summon free microbots that charge in as well.
I think that's it. I believe it has ramped into
a long drawn out series.
It was quicker than what it could have been. This could be going on a lot longer.
It's just that DeadDraw stuck this
nullifier.
This 9/9 mech, and then he got the Brilliant Nullifier and managed to just plop that on. There were no answers from Falcone because he was just copying DeadDraw's hand every single time.
And also the fact that because DeadDraw, he originally had a Reckless Flurry, he then copied Falcone's hand, so we get rid of that Reckless Flurry. And then Falcone, he copied DeadDraw, and then there was no Reckless Flurries anywhere because they both Azalinaed it away, which would have been the decisive factor if Falcone had one of these right now.
But as you can see, Falcone still has some cards left in his deck, so if DeadDraw didn't have this giant minion, then Falcone would eventually win, but unfortunately...
Love the way Bim just goes, that's it, which that is exactly what is going to happen, is that all DeadDraw has to do is just punch.
Well, he's actually not dead. Falcone actually survives because DeadDraw doesn't have one additional damage in any way. He doesn't have any magnetic minions that can plop on to this 13-15. You can't clear every taunt and push the 13 damage plus the weapon to face, but that's still one off.
It's just a matter of time of when is DeadDraw going to kill him. It's kind of like the series we had yesterday with, it was Ben's Quest Rogue versus the Secret Hunter that Toast had. It was like, okay, when is Ben just finally going to kill him, and Toast gives up. It's kind of like this way where there's no way Falcone ever comes back from this, like ever.
Yeah, I can't see a great way. DeadDraw's just gonna put down some more minions and make it even harder for Falcone. Like, even if he managed to kill this giant minion, how can he deal with the Direhorn Matriarch and
just
this,
Dynamancy, the Direhorn
control attack?
Patriarch. You Dynamancy it.
It's Dynamancy it.
Yeah, go for it. I'd do it. I'd, you know,
Yep,
bit of a troll play, bit of a mean
+2.
play.
Why not? So, Falcone just going through all the options.
He picked up his Iliax, but a little bit too late. Just a tad.
This is a bit too late. Has nothing on board to Magnetic onto with.
Could go Steambot plus Iliax,
He could.
but still dead, so.
Yep.
Not a lot you can really say. So yeah, just looking at it, it was pretty long series. Not as long as what it could have been. But yeah, that's going to be then DeadDraw losing his Odd Warrior. And then Falcone still has the Odd Warrior to queue into again. But looking at it, even Warlock and then Control Priest as well come up for DeadDraw. And also the way that you say, you know, he's very, very strong with his Control Priest as well. This is going to cause a lot of problems for Falcone as well.
So Falcone actually found a way to survive on board, but any rush minion would, any mech in fact, would end up this game. DeadDraw had the giant bulldozer. Falcone knows that because he has the bulldozer as well from copying DeadDraw's hands, so knew it was inevitable that he died this turn.
So DeadDraw will pick up his first LAN match. Hasn't took the series, just took the first map.
Yeah, it's a very long game one, but a very key game one, as I say as well.
Yeah.
Because it was the mirror match, it could have gone either way. It does go in the favor of DeadDraw this time. Falcone not out of this, because DeadDraw still has to win with the Priest and the Even Lock, and Odd Warrior can definitely take a game off the Priest or the Even Lock. In fact, is very favored against the Priest, I'd say, and I think the Even Lock matchup is still fine.
It's more so once Falcone, if Falcone wins with that Odd Warrior, where does he go from there? Because essentially the other two decks just get steamrolled with the decks that DeadDraw has as well.
Well, the Odd Rogue is very good actually against the Even Lock. It does struggle a bit against the Control Priest, but I wouldn't say it's unfavor. I think that matchup could end up going either way. The Token Druid, though, as I mentioned in the first place, will be the deck that Falcone might be the most worried about, because the Token Druid could definitely lose to both the Even Lock and the Priest.
So we'll see what we get queued into. What will be the next matchup? Will it be Odd Warrior being stuck with Falcone?
I think both players might have been a bit fatigued after that hell of a game. I mean, that was so long. There's just so many things that goes through your head in an Odd Warrior mirror, because you have these weird Azalina turns where you're like, oh, if I copy his hand, what does that do? He's going to copy my hand, I'm going to copy his hand, and then you just think about all these things, and this might distract you, because you might end up after the series just looking back and seeing if he could have done anything different. Because if Falcone would have just cleared off the 9-9 somehow, he could have won that game, but I don't think it was possible. I just think it was very unfortunate. So both players just taking a bit of a breather. Long series, have to recollect themselves, and we'll be going into the next game shortly.
Speaking of DeadDraw as well today, I was asking him, oh, do you know what Falcone has? We looked at the deck list and he said he's memorized every single card that Falcone has in all of his decks. Tech cards, anything weird, he knows exactly what it is. And on the way here as well, DeadDraw and Falcone were talking, and we were talking about, oh yeah, DeadDraw, he knows Falcone's deck list, and Falcone goes, oh, how many Iron Beak Isles do I have in my Odd Warrior? And DeadDraw goes 2, and Falcone goes, oh no, only have 1, and DeadDraw just kind of flips out and loses it, and he's like, I'm only joking, mate.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
Yeah, DeadDraw thought he got done over there.
Duped.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is in the ESL Prem. New to this season, everything is open deck list, so both players will know exactly.
And us.
And us, yeah, of course, the classes, we definitely have to know.
Yeah, we certainly do, because some of the names are a little bit
yeah,
I for us.
I basically just have to write down all
You
the
need
names.
to, I
because
tell you,
I
you
have to
play
like,
more
mix and
arena,
match, you
you'll
know?
start to learn, but you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 2 different decks for both of them. It will be the Evenlock versus the Odd Rogue of Falcone. He's going to need to get a good start against DeadDraw. And especially over DeadDraw, he does have that Mossy Horror for that tech guard against the Giggling Inventor, which he actually goes for it in the mulligan away. That Ooze on 2 is going to be massive for DeadDraw.
Yeah, the Ooze is definitely a very good card against the Odd Rogue, because if you destroy their weapon, then it potentially prevents the turn 3 where they want to play down a card such as Hench Clan Fog, as you see just being picked up by Falcone. So for DeadDraw, playing the Evenlock, you get that 1 mana life tap, just
This is really good.
hit that button. Falcone, most likely, unless the only other play on turn 2 that you would ever make against the Evenlock as the Odd Rogue would be another 1-drop plus the Cold Blood that just puts up so much pressure onto DeadDraw because you just push so much damage. But if you don't have that, then you just go with the Dagger up. You don't swing here because you do have that Hench Clan Fog in hand. You just want to save your weapon charges to keep buffing up the Hench Clan Fog. And DeadDraw, acknowledging that he didn't hit that, means he knows that Falcone has a turn 3 play.
So there's 2 options here for DeadDraw. He could either went for the Ooze or the Doomsayer, which he did pick up. I was kind of favouring the Doomsayer there because there's no physical way that Falcone can break through that. So essentially what this does is it just stops that Hench Cloud coming down, and even stops potentially another free minion which also could have been played, such as the Flappy Bird, which we seen yesterday was pretty big and pretty strong, and especially with the combination of Cold Blood onto a Flappy Bird, that's pretty good.
So the most optimal time to play Doomsayer is against Odd Rogues, mainly on the turn 2, because it does clean up the 1-drop, prevents the 3-drop as well on turn 3. And the Gluttonous Ooze will always get value later on, so I do agree with that. You can just save the Gluttonous Ooze for later on, such as this turn. You just go live tap Gluttonous Ooze. This, again, prevents a Hench Clan Fog coming down, because if Falcone does decide to play like any 3-mana card here, it will just get traded off by the Gluttonous Ooze, so it basically forces him to just dagger up and kill off the Acidic Swamp Ooze.
You also did see that DeadDraw picked up a Curse of Weakness, which is a card which I don't think we've ever seen inside a competitive play. And the main reason why he does that is because it works really well with the Mossy Horror that he also has inside of his deck, because that can theoretically just kill off essentially just any big board.
Yeah, so Curse of Weakness is one of like the cards that is rarely played. The only deck is rarely played in is this Evenlock deck, where you can go, as you said, Curse of Weakness into Mossy Horror. It's also just a good card that can be used when you're head on board. You're on board, you just use Curse of Weakness, and then you can get these value trades. I don't think it'll get that much value in this matchup, because you mainly just want to play down minions and taunt them up to prevent yourself from dying. Falcone is not in a great position right now, because his early game's been really stifled by the Doomsayer coming down on turn 2, plus the Acidic Swamp Ooze on turn 3. This was basically the perfect start for that DeadDraw could have wished for.
That, guys, is going to be pretty harmful for Falcone's deck, and of course, because DeadDraw knows everything that's inside of that deck, that's a pretty good play. Get rid of Deadly Poisons, get rid of the Cold Blood, more importantly, I would say. And yeah, goes to the value trades, and potentially as well, we could see that get Shroom back up on the next turn also.
Yeah, it was really looking good for DeadDraw. He has so many tools to help him survive. He has the Shroom Brewers, of course, to heal him or even a minion up. He has double Sun Fury Protect. Sun Fury Protect is very great against all aggro decks, because you play a big minion down, which doesn't have taunt, so the aggro deck can just potentially ignore the minion, but if you pop down the Sun Fury Protector, then you force the aggro deck to just deal with this giant minion with a lot of health.
So we will be punching into that Mountain Giant. I'm quite surprised why he didn't go for the South Sea Deckhand, run it in, and then go for the SI, which would have stopped him going for taking that 8 damage, but I'm sure that's probably because he wants to get that fledgling down and start trying to put a bit of a threat on to DeadDraw.
Yep, he also wants to save the South Sea Deckhand because it could be a combo activator for
Slayer.
Valspine Slayer, and if one minion sticks on board here, which could happen because there's only a Skulking Geist on board which can only trade with one minion, he will have the SI agent left, and he could potentially go South Sea Deckhand plus Fungal Mancer next turn, allowing for the full Fungal Mancer buff.
So we can just go ahead and play another Mountain Giant, get another big old 8 onto the board, which we know that Falcone doesn't have any big hard removal. All he can really do is trade minions in towards that, unless he does pick up a Vilespine Slayer also, which would be the only thing that really could get him out of the hole that he's kind of in at the moment. Fog doesn't really do much for him. This is pretty bad hand for Falcone. You can also see that he does run the Myras as well, which, that's a card that it's a bit of a hit or miss. It can be, win you the game type, but it's more so, I would say, better inside Miracle Rogue, where you have all of those 4/4 spiders that can come out as well.
So, DeadDraw opted to not go. He could have went tap Mountain Giant Surfer Protector, but he goes this line where he just heals up the Skulking Geist and turns it up. Maybe to try bait out a Valspine Slayer if Falcone had one, or a top decked one, because this turn he could still play the Giant, plus another Sun Fury Protector if he wishes to. He does have the Spellbreaker that he actually kept in his opening hand, just deals with this Edwin. He also finds a turn to actually use the Curse of Weakness to get 2 very good value trades and just cement his position.
That's why you run it. And Falcone as well, they were talking about Curse of Weakness as well. Yep. Falcone was talking about, why do you run that? And I'm pretty sure the answer that DeadDraw gave was, I was playing ladder, a guy was playing Evil Lock, he used Curse of Weakness against me, and I thought I might try it out. That's it. He's only found one guy who's ever played it on ladder, and he just decided, let's go for this.
I mean,
it worked.
That's how decks get made. You see someone else play it on ladder, and you're like, I'll try this card out. It seems pretty good. It won him the game. It can win me a game. And it's showing here.
Most of the time, I don't really think that works, because I've tried that, and I get, sent back down to rank 10.
Maybe you just have to practice.
We still need to get a ladder. Come on, you need to get me the ladder, up to legend. Yeah, on the ladder. EU ladder, of course. But
EU ladder? Not UC EU ladder. It's been a while, but...
Why is that?
Why is that? I just wanna... One time in the past, I just decided, I just want to play on Asia ladder, NA ladder.
You call yourself a UK player? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So you're scared of getting me,
that's why. Scared of you. That's the real reason.
You see Demo pop up, and you're like,
oh no.
Seed. APM free Senpai.
But yeah, Falcone just didn't get to the fast early game start you want as Odd Rogue, and DeadDraw had the tools that he needed to prolong the game until he could get down those big threats and be able to taunt them up, and goes to a 2-0 lead. And that was a very unfavored matchup for the Even Lock. Normally, the Odd Rogue, because it has so many aggressive tools, it can just kill the Even Lock very quickly, but that did not happen, unfortunately. And Falcone, down to his last life. DeadDraw only has to win with his Control Priest, and Falcone has all 3 of his decks left.
Yeah, I kind of think that, kind of about turn 6, we kind of knew that it was going to be DeadDraw. He just had the presence on board that Falcone didn't get any of his Slayers to clear off those big minions, and also just the great start that DeadDraw did have. He picked up the Ooze, picked up the Doomsayer, completely stalled out the entire early game for Rogue, which is the main thing that they need, is to have, 1 mana minion into your dagger, into either your Fug or into your fledgling as well. Just, he did have that, but it was just completely stalled out because we did see the Doomsayer being picked up right in the top deck on turn 2, and then of course the Ooze is always going to be a big pain in the side. And it is kind of, I remember whenever me and you did our first week of casting together, the Prem, this is like a same scenario that did happen. I believe it was like a big mage versus an odd rogue, and the big mage got their gluttonous Ooze, and it destroyed the weapon.
Yes, on turn 3.
And that was kind of game set match from there.
Yeah, just if you ever have an Ooze, or say a Swamp Ooze or a gluttonous Ooze, just playing it down to destroy the weapon on turn 2 and preventing a Hedge Clan from come down is such a big tempo swing, because they have to end up dealing with the gluttonous Ooze or the acidic Swamp Ooze, and they can't develop. And they have to just commit the 2 mana into redaggering. So, yep. Going into game 3. So, DeadDraw, of course, he has to play this Control Priest. Only deck that he has left. He has been playing a lot backstage. I think that was the only deck he was playing yesterday, actually. Just hovering top 20 legend just for hours on end. And he was doing really well.
I should let him play on my account then, I'd imagine. But I think he's bigger fish to fry, because this could potentially send him in to face Paradox inside of the next round, and whoever loses this, it's probably the guy you don't want to play next, would be Board Control.
Yeah, so the loser of this.
Rough matchup.
Definitely rough matchup. You don't want to be facing Board Control. Board Control, who will probably be my pick to win the tournament, actually, at the beginning, when the tournament started. Unfortunately, he did take... Yeah, big shocker. Board Control winning.
I like DeadDraw.
I think DeadDraw has a real good chance as well.
I like his whole story where he came out of nowhere and just beat the best players, and then just took a free-o, and then he's here and he's doing the work as well. I love that storyline. Just
he's doing
complete
very well.
Underdog, complete rookie, comes out of thin air, beats champions, and then he turns up to his first LAN, and he's looking already pretty good.
Definitely looking very good. He is.
I'm all about the storylines. I love the passion. It's all about the passion for me.
It's all about the passion.
We need more passion.
That's
what Falcone needs at the moment, is more passion to get himself back in this series, get himself back up there, get back over that wall, and start putting in work with these good decks that we know he can play, because he would not be here if he could not play the game.
Yep, you definitely have to play the game, otherwise you wouldn't be here. I mean, it's just facts.
You play the game.
Yeah, I do play the game.
I think you can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah. But now I'm here.
Yo, that's true. You know, you've wrangled your win. So is Leroy, to be fair, as well. But yeah, it's good to have you guys here.
So this is an Odd Warrior versus a Control Priest, and the Odd Warrior, I much prefer to be the Odd Warrior in this matchup, because Odd Warrior, you do have that tank up hero power. You just keep armoring up, and the Priest's way of winning the game is with the Anduin. You have the Mind Blast in your deck. You can Shadow Visions for more Mind Blast. And the goal is to just play the Mind Blast, use the Anduin hero power, deal 2 damage to face after you play every single card. But eventually, you run out of damage, and Falcone will never run out of armor, because you can just keep pressing that button, pressing that button each turn.
Yeah, and I believe that the max the max damage that I could see DeadDraw pull off, because typically you Shadow Visions for your extra Mind Blast. For the most part, you only ever really manage to hit 1, so you have 3 Mind Blasts, plus your Anduin hero power that only gives you 19 burst damage. Yep. And against matchups with armor, so essentially Druid and Warrior is decks that really do kill Priest if you're going to go for the Mind Blast combo. Yeah, this is going to be horrific for DeadDraw, because he somehow needs to find minion presence to take away that armor, and also try and avoid the clear, and we know that Warrior has numerous ways of clearing minions off a board.
Yep, it's very important to try just gain a big ball presence, start chipping in with your minions, and then you really want a lot of minion damage done before turn 8. Turn 8, you really want to go Anduin, maybe even Alex Straza turn 9, keep pressuring, and then just end the game with the Anduin and the Mind Blast.
Still needs to find the Anduin, however, and equally, Falcone, he needs to find the big man, Mr. Boom, Dr. Boom. Mad Genius.
I don't even think Dr. Boom's necessarily good in this matchup.
But it's always going to be good.
But you really don't want to take away that 4 armor game, do you? You just want to keep gaining armor. The Warrior has enough tools to deal with all of...
I think by the time that he does get Boom, he will more than likely have enough armor to actually go for Boom.
well. But if you go for a boom, then you might not ever get any armor. Like maybe you just never hit that 7 armor game, hero power. Then maybe stuff happens. Maybe the Anduin.
I just like whenever I see Dr. Boom, I like his theme song.
We'll see. We'll see what Falcone.
Not a big fan.
Not a big fan.
You know, he gave us Puzzle Labs. We should be thankful. love a bit of Puzzle Labs. You did it pretty well.
Yeah, I did. I managed to complete the whole of the Puzzle Labs. It did take me quite a long time.
I did as well, but there been a web browser open up beside me.
I can't say I didn't have any help. I had a few guys on Twitch chat pointing me in the right direction.
Wait, you stream?
Oh, shocker.
So, looking at it, already Falcone, he gets his first Elise onto the board, and DeadDraw, he just sends that right back into the deck for another Elise as well. So, straight away, we know that Falcone is always going to win the fatigue game. I just see this in a way that DeadDraw is never going to be able to punch through that already. Yeah. 57 armor.
Falcone, like, every turn he's just been armoring up. He dealt with all of DeadDraw's threats efficiently. He had the IMB card for the Twilight Drake. DeadDraw plays down the Primordial Drake. Maybe if this minion sticks, you can just keep chipping for a turn. Basically just cancels out the
How does
DeadDraw
ever win this? Like, how does he ever win this matchup? I don't see it ever happen.
It's very hard. Like, maybe if he did have such as an Archbishop Benedictus, we did see
We'd be here a while.
Yeah, we would be here a while. It happened in the global games. I think it was Falcone casting that.
Yes.
So
an hour and 70 minutes for one match.
Yeah. What happened was, I think it was Portugal versus someone, but I knew the Portugal was the priest. So the Portugal in the control priest had Archbishop Benedictus. So Archbishop Benedictus takes your opponent's deck and puts it in yours. So you're most likely to win on fatigue. But not only that, they drew Dr. Boom the turn straight after they played the card. So they just plopped down the Dr. Boom. And the Warrior had the Dr. Boom as well. And the game just went on forever. And eventually the Portugal won. But unfortunately for DeadDraw, hasn't opted to tech in.
Thankfully for us, he hasn't opted to run that more
yeah, thankfully for us. Unfortunately for DeadDraw, he doesn't have that Archbishop Benedictus, so his only game plan is to just win by killing him.
Try. Yep. Try your best, bud.
And
it's kind of like running into a brick wall at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah. As the priest, you never win on fatigue because your game plan is to draw cards into the Anduin, whereas the Warrior has so many anti-fatigue tools, such as Elise, Solar, Direhorn Hatchlings. As we see there, just getting picked up right now.
Yeah, you can also see in the hand of DeadDraw, he has a Twilight Acolyte. Isn't used for anything, really, because we know that Odd Warrior do not run Lich King, which is, you know, I would say, I believe, one of the most used targets that you do see a Twilight Acolyte go onto that, and also Mountain Giant, I believe. The only real thing that I could see him doing is if Falcone picks up a Bulldozer from his Ever Megala Assemblies, or if he gets it from Dr. Boom as well.
So, Alexstrasza coming into hand for DeadDraw. Does 15 damage. That's a lot of damage for a 9-mana card.
Still just, you know, but it still keeps him, you know, what, still 49? Yeah. That's the punch through. And again, we know that he can only burst down with 19. And he hasn't even picked up any Mind Blast either as well.
Yep, also just doesn't have that Anduin yet. And that was just one of the key cards he wanted early.
Yeah.
So he's also lost control of the board quite significantly. Has to go for this, a Dustbreaker.
Doesn't even clear.
You can go for Dustbreaker, go for the Wild Pyromancer and the Divine Hymn to clear the whole board. Also, put down 2 minions, maybe these stick, and we'll be able to chip some damage in. And Falcone is running out of removal.
You can't just go for Dr. Boom.
Can go for Dr. Boom.
Personally, I would, because you're farther enough into your armor game where Alexstrasza doesn't affect you at all.
He really wants to. I mean, this might be one of the situations you are at
he doesn't have any Mind Blast either or any Shadow Visions, and Falcone knows, oh yeah, I haven't seen any Shadow Visions, so what do I fear?
Yep, and Anduin has come down very late, so yeah. I'm fine with Dr. Boom here because you have gained so much armor. You have run out of removal. He couldn't remove both the minions
Rush
there.
mechs to clear the board. That's good as well.
Yep, and yeah, he did hit the 7 armor game. But Anduin game picked up, so Alex Straza, Anduin, maybe there's a chance for his draw. There's no real way of removing this Alex Straza right now.
And he just got the blast shield as well.
But if Alex Straza stays on board, that's 8 a turn, 8 another turn. We're doing 8 every single turn, so maybe eventually we do get there. So Falcone just looking for options to clean up this Alex Straza. Hasn't found one yet, but if you just keep playing down these taunts, then maybe DeadDraw won't be able to clear them all. It's actually not a great way of clearing taunts from DeadDraw's side. There is cards such as the Cabal Shadow Priest.
Ooh, that's Talon Priest is a long time ago.
Yeah, Talon Priest is a long time.
Yeah, just
reminiscing. But yeah, the Shadow Priest
that's a good card.
will be able to steal minions with the Twilight Acolyte. Is that the card? Yep, that's the card. But just opts to steal a 1/4
Have
Stone
confidence in yourself with your card naming skills.
I mean, my eyesight's not great, so I can't read the cards. But I just hope they're correct.
So is there glass in those glasses you're wearing, or are they just for show?
I mean, they're definitely glass, but I'm very blind, you see.
So we do see that Alex Straza get killed off. So that does allow then Anduin to be played, because if he wanted to play Anduin this turn, then it would have also killed Alex Straza if it did stick. And yeah, he can start pinging away at the face, but just look at all of the the value that Falcone still has. Potential Zilliax as well to heal himself back up, so Alex Straza then kind of comes null and void at that stage. Psychic Scream is just going to shuffle just even more stuff in the Falcone's deck, gives him a couple of pretty dead,
Gives us some microbots. So
dead draws, you could say.
Yeah, they are very dead draws. Like microbots aren't doing much. They're just 1/1s basically, just 1/1 charges, just basically Stone to spores, but that can't hit face.
Yeah.
And so maybe DeadDraw can stick a few minions in. You know that Falcone is running low on resources right now because he did go into Dr. Boom mode, so he might not have the removal he needs to clear off the remaining minions that DeadDraw has. But DeadDraw actually doesn't have that much left himself. He did pick up the Skull King Geist and play that down on the turn where Falcone did draw the Shield Slam, so he does burn a card from Falcone's hand along with the other Shield Slam in the deck. As well as the Omega Assemblies, which is quite significant because the Omega Assemblies are one of the best ways of just generating big minions.
So essentially in Falcone's hand, he has 2 cards that he will never play. So he just has Zilliax, because those Reckless Flurries are never going to get picked up or played because he needs that armor to physically survive against the Mind Blast combo that DeadDraw does have. He picks up one of them at the moment. He's still kind of fishing for another one. You've seen previously a couple of turns ago he did have Shadow Visions, but he Shadow Visioned into another Shadow Visions because he didn't see the Mind Blast, and he knows, yeah, I drew everything. Holy Fire has been drawn.
So DeadDraw opting to go Shadow Visions into Shadow Visions because he can go for this infinite loop, which allows him to get extra pings from the Shadow Reaper Anduin, and then for the last Shadow Visions, he opts to pick up, of course, the Mind Blast in case he draws the second one, because you really don't want to draw the second Mind Blast. That means your Shadow Visions are basically just dead cards.
No really good mix there that Falcone has to choose from. In most circumstances, there's nothing really there that stands out. No bulldozers, not even a Dynomatic. Pretty rough runs there, to be honest.
Yeah, these aren't great mechs. I mean, you probably just picked the biggest mech because every mech right now does have the rush. So.
Coppertail Imposter.
Coppertail Imposter. I mean, some people at the beginning were playing that in like Shudderwalk Shaman. It gives you a Shudderwalk stealth if you play the Coppertail Imposter, but it has fallen out of favor after people just realized, nah, it's 4 mana, it's not that great, is it?
Really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Although it does have rush now, because you have Dr. Boom. But Falcone really thinking about this, just deciding what to pick. Could pick like Explodinator, and then maybe like put Ziliax on it next turn.
Does go for the Explodinator, get some Goblin Bombs, and we only really see Goblin Bombs being played ever inside of Hunter, more so, but that's more of a bit of a fun deck. Sometimes you just see Flark plus Void Ripper would, you know, that's really the only combo pieces we see.
That's a lot of damage. I was playing
off
at the
Goblin
beginning.
Bombs for the most part.
Yeah, I think that was the first deck I actually made when the expansion came out, just like Bomb Hunter, because there's so many Goblin Bombs, it reminded me of like old Leper No More. And just
Yeah, because you have...
keep jamming you for 2.
You have Flark, you have Explodinator, you have World Glider.
Yeah, and then like you just kept putting the magnetic minions onto the Goblin Bombs, trade them off, and it also forces your opponent to like kill the Goblin Bombs because they can't
Throw in a
magnetic.
Necro mechanic as well, I believe it's called. The one that's the 4 mana free 6. Your Death Rattles trigger twice, so basically they're never there, but you know, with extra stats.
Yeah. Falcone, he's kind of struggling now. This armor is getting chipped down, like you mentioned. There's so much armor before.
Yeah.
There's still a bit of armor, but it's not 32
Still
instead
quite
of
a bit.
45. So DeadDraw's slowly getting there. He still regains his board positioning, his board position. He uses the owl that he just picked up to silence the Acolyte to prevent more cards from being drawn, because you want to just basically starve DeadDraw of his cards too, because you don't have much yourself.
Yeah, Ziliax is going to be pretty big as well for Falcone. It starts getting that life total up, which is what DeadDraw really doesn't want to see at this moment, is more life gain for Falcone.
It also clears a minion, and the main way that DeadDraw has to win this game is just stick the minions, keep chipping in every single turn. And also, it means that DeadDraw also has to spend his pings on killing the Ziliax minion, otherwise it just keep healing if he decides to trade in minions.
So a lot of potential here that can be brought with that Ziliax, you know, gives him that lifesteal. But then again, your Ziliax, he only gives it +2 health, so it can get easily pinged off. It really comes down to see what else that Falcone does pick up here. Super Collider.
Super Collider is a really big pickup, because this means that DeadDraw's board is going to be quickly be killed off by the Super Collider. It's very hard to stick a large board when your opponent has the Super Collider, because you will be able to just hit a minion, that the minion hits into his fellow minion.
In this scenario, if you're Falcone, do you pick Ziliax or do you pick Brilliant Nullifier? I personally would pick Ziliax.
I think that Ziliax is probably fine.
I just like it because it gives you that health back, which you need in this scenario.
I think the Brilliant Nullifier, it's great, but I think Ziliax might be the safer option. Just in case anything happens, you want just the extra bit of health. Because they both basically do similar things. You just play it down, and most likely it kills a minion. The Brilliant Nullifier is a bit bigger, but the Ziliax is quite good itself.
Ooze gets picked up, so it destroys that Super Collider as well.
Ooze the perfect answer for the Super Collider. So
both of these guys kind of running dead in their draws at the moment. You know, they're not picking up anything that's massively big for them to swing the turn. We know that DeadDraw as well has already played as Alex Traza, so that big 8/8 is never going to come down again.
Well, Falcone doesn't have that many big minions in his deck. He really only has
still have
the Matriarchs, the Hatchlings, and the Elise. So those
that got Psychic Scrimmed a long time ago.
Yeah.
The Microbots as well.
Yeah.
Don't forget about them.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's not drawn that badly. He could have drawn Microbots every single turn. I mean, that would have been terrible, wouldn't it?
You're going to Caster's Curse him. You ready? He's going to draw the Microbot because you've said that.
So DeadDraw just putting all the damage in right now because he didn't really have any great plays.
That's the big one.
That is one of the best draws for Falcone. And DeadDraw's just ran out of damage. He just put the damage in. He hasn't got bored. Can't chip down the armor anymore. Ziliax comes down. That has to be dealt with, otherwise Falcone is just healing every single turn. And I think it's very hard for DeadDraw to get out of this position, because he's just running out of damage, running out of time, losing on board. He's just losing in every scenario, isn't he?
It's pretty much game. I think we've known this kind of since like turn 1. I believe that we had that feeling.
Well, it was a favourable matchup for sure, and DeadDraw didn't get to the start he wanted to. He didn't stick any minions early on.
Didn't get his shadow visions quick enough.
His Anduin didn't come down on turn 8. It came down quite a few turns afterwards. He had the Alexstrasza, but it was, again, later on. And, yeah, Falcone had a lot of answers. Just kept armoring up. Even got to an armor point that he could afford to play the Dr. Boom. Like, I think when he played Dr. Boom, he was at, what, 60-something life. So he was pretty safe. And, yeah, this Dr. Boom ended up just getting enough value. And
Is someone injured?
I don't think the DeadDraw can get there anymore.
No. He could try. Well, he's
definitely trying.
Majority of the armor.
He's on match point, but he understands. He knows the composition of his deck, and he just knows there's no way.
Only one Mind Blast left. Never going to punch through, and especially whenever Falcone still has potential armor game with getting Blast Shield off of his hero power as well. And you know that you've seen that board. That was just going to start pushing lethal then for Falcone in that scenario.
So for Falcone, his Odd Warrior was the best matchup against the Control Priest. So maybe he wanted to just queue the Odd Warrior first because he wanted to build his confidence up, you know, because he just had those very tough losses. He lost the Odd Warrior mirror. To regroup. He also lost a very favorable matchup in the Odd Rogue versus the Even Lock, and he was just like, just go queue my Odd Warrior into the Control Priest. Maybe have like a very easy game, calm my nerves a bit, just know I can win a game and try and bring this back, bring this reverse sweep on.
Yes, Falcone, this is where he starts getting his momentum shifted. Still, Odd Rogue, still a very good matchup that can, if it has that very early aggressive start, which he did have last time, but the Even Lock just completely shut that down for DeadDraw. So queuing up against that Control Priest, certainly if he gets that very quick aggressive start for that he needs, if he gets one drop into the dagger and then of course into potentially a Hinch clan, then that starts to cause problems for DeadDraw, because really the only clear that he has is either if he gets lucky and draws the Dustbreaker plus also gets another dragon, or then he has to wait for turn 7 for that Psychic Scream also.
So remaining decks for Falcone once again are the Token Druid and the Odd Rogue. So basically they both have a decent shot against the Control Priest. Falcone decides to go with the Token Druid right here. So cards you're looking for basically in this matchup are your ramp cards, of course. In any Druid, you do want those Wild Growth, the Nourish, and then ultimately going into the ultimate infestation.
Yeah. Doesn't get that UI, or doesn't get the Nourish, still gets the Wild Growth, which is better than nothing in most circumstances.
Another card that's good for Falcone would be the Malfurion the Pestilent, because it gives you a similar win condition such as the Warrior.
Yeah.
You get the free armor every turn.
Really good, really strong.
And along with the other armor game you have in your deck, the Branching Paths, the Oaken Summons, you just gain a lot of armor. That could be a way you win the game.
Yeah, this is the two matchups that we said is what Priest just in general struggles with, is decks with armor. The Priest is not as bad against this deck as it was against the Odd Warrior, because the Druid has much less removal. It has much less removal than the Odd Warrior, and the armor gain is much less because they don't have the gain for a hero power. So what I imagine that is more than likely going to happen is that I can see Falcone start to get the ramp in and start attempting to clear off these little minions. He then decides to go pretty heavy in with a board, so he plays the Whispering Woods, for example, and then potentially also if he plays the Soul of Force onto that, the DeadDraw just Psychic Screams that away, and then that's where Falcone just starts getting just 1/1s, 0 mana 1/1s. And then that's where he starts drawing dead. Can't get any of his good cards, potentially armor gaining cards, and then DeadDraw just takes full advantage of that.
Yeah. Though Psychic Screaming a board full of 1/1 minions does mean that if you try to go for this like fatigue plan, you're always going to lose because you're just putting way more cards into your opponent's deck. So if possible, he would try to find a different option of clearing boards such as that. Maybe he goes for Pyromancers, stuff like that, meaning he holds board himself while also clearing his opponent's board. So he could set up a turn such as Pyromancer, maybe Powered Shield, Divine Hymn, plus another spell, Shadow Visions, and that'd be a really big swing turn.
Even the Primordial Drake could do pretty good.
Yep, for sure if Falcone just plays down the Whispering Woods, for example. I mean,
but really,
Heroic
Psychic
Drake
Scream is the big one.
clear it off.
But it is, you know, can he draw that in time? Could Shadow Visions for it, but more than likely he's going to go for the Mind Blast. No, he goes for the Psychic Scream because he may just fear that we could see that big scary board that we talked about that can come down, and you know it's just a safer route for DeadDraw in this scenario.
Malfurion getting picked up, we see a shake of the head. Falcone acknowledges that is definitely a really good card in the matchup. However, he has to deal with this Twilight Drake and the 1/5 Cleric, and he chooses to just clear off the Cleric this turn. He could have opted to go Swipe and Spellstone onto that Twilight Drake, that would have killed that, but he knows that card draw is very important for the Priest. If the Priest will eventually run out of card draw, they don't run that much. There's only both the Clerics, he only runs one Acolyte of Pain, and if the Priest runs out of cards, then they run out of cards to get the Anduin and their Mind Blast to end out the game.
So DeadDraw, he only runs one Giggling Inventor inside of his deck. Obviously, that's going to help a bit with clearing off these minions which may want to run into him. And here comes the first bit of token that Falcone does have, and it will be that Spreading Plague. Yeah, arguably one of the best cards that Druid has. Well, yeah, maybe Malfurion could top that. I would say Malfurion's probably the best 7-drop card that we have. Or would you say Dr. Boom would be better? Probably Dr. Boom.
I think they're both good in their own ways, depending on their decks. Like Token Druid helps out very much with the Malfurion because you do have the option to attack for free, whereas the Dr. Boom is just very good in Our Warrior because it gives you this infinite value hero power. So DeadDraw is quite a big fan of this, the Giggling Inventor. Giggling Inventor is a very strong card. He even has it in his Priest, although he played it that turn and he did get relatively punished by the Spreading Plague, since Giggling Inventor is really bad against Spreading Plague. You just make very small minions that just allow for Spreading Plague to get extra value. Falcone having quite a tough turn here. Actually not opting to go for the Malfurion just yet. Maybe he goes for Malfurion next turn because he can play Malfurion and he can have access to the hero power. Just wants to go for the hero power armor up to allow for his Spellstone to get buffed to a 4/4 Spellstone so he can kill off the Twilight Drake. Also playing the Strong Shell Scavenger. Buff up these Scarabs into relatively big minions, become 3/7s, and they contest the board quite well.
So we do also see that UI getting picked up, which may be another reason why Falcone's decided to dump his hand, so he can potentially get that Ultimate Infestation in action as well. And we all know that that is one of the best swing turns in the entirety of Hearthstone.
Yep, definitely is.
Does everything you need and more.
DeadDraw, this is his second Shadow Visions. You do have to keep in mind. He actually decides to choose another Psychic Scream, so he's very wary of how the board can get out of control. He's slowly losing control of that. So he decides that he does need those Psychic Screams just to take away from what Falcone has.
So another thing as well, which does kind of weaken DeadDraw's deck against the token, is no Mossy Horror is going to be ran. We've seen him run it in inside of his Evenlock, but not inside of his Control Priest. Again, it is just a tech card for token, also a tech card against Spreading Plague and also against Giggling Inventor. It would have come in to help him, but equally Drake could do a bit of that damage because really the Wisps aren't there for health, they're just there to push damage, and that's where Drake comes in really well.
So Falcone can go Malfurion this turn into Ultimate Infestation the next turn, or for Infestation, one of the best cards in Druid for refill. It's also really good in Token Druid because it allows for you to draw into the pieces you need, such as Whispering Woods. He already has the Soul of the Forest. And Malfurion, as I said before, he can go for either game plan right now. He does have the board, so he could keep going on the game plan where he just kills his opponent. But he also, if he ever feels like he's not going to get that in the damage sense, then he can just start armoring up and can eventually get out of range of DeadDraw's win condition.
So there's going to be the Primordial Drake being played down. So it does make Falcone's Woods a lot stronger. But again, it just gives DeadDraw a bit of tempo onto the board. It creates, again, another big minion, which this is where you can start stabilizing that big minion and start trying to push some damage. And we know that that armor gain is the only thing that will keep Falcone alive inside of this matchup against the Priest. But Ultimate Infestation will be played out, and this gets all of the goodies inside of the deck. You see Falcone nodding his head. He must have gotten some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, he drew the Arcane Tyrant, which means
that's
that he won't overdraw next turn. He also decided to Ultimate Infestation the 4/1 Cabal Shadow Priest. That may seem weird to you, but he really didn't want to Ultimate Infestation the Primordial Drake because he really values having both the taunts on board. If he did Ultimate Infestation Primordial Drake, he'd have to trade off both the Scarabs into it, and then the 5/5 from the Ultimate Infestation was susceptible. Can't say that word, it's very hard. So acceptable to the 4/1 trading in and cards such as Wild Pyromancer plus the spells that could just clean it off.
So you see DeadDraw, he has 2 Mind Blast inside of his hand. Potentially Holy Fire could be another way of potential lethal.
Yeah, Holy Fire is definitely a card that's been teched in. It just adds to your burst range. You can go ping, Holy Fire, ping. It also heals you a bit, so sometimes
it's almost like it's a 10 mana.
Yeah, your opponent sets up lethal like exactly, and then you just have this extra healing, and it just buys you an extra turn to just set up your own lethal, in fact.
Bit of an awkward turn for Falcone. He doesn't know if he wants to go all in just yet, and certainly he shouldn't go all in because you can see double Psychic Scream in the hand of DeadDraw.
Yep.
But if Falcone wants to go for that play and start getting the bit of pressure applied, he could, attempt to, oh yeah, let's try and bait out the Psychic Scream. DeadDraw goes for that, and then he goes all in, and then he uses another Psychic Scream, which is the only thing that Falcone does have to worry about, is if it is a double Psychic Scream.
So I think Falcone.
Whoa. Psycho Falcone.
Psycho Falcone. But yeah, Falcone should acknowledge that there's probably a Psychic Scream in hand already because 2 Shadow Visions have been used. None of the Shadow Visions cards have been played yet, so he could think there was a Mind Blast, but he should know that there should be at least 1 Psychic Scream already in hand, so just play around that as much as possible. Opting not to attack in because he wants those extra cards in his deck, because if Psychic Scream does happen, you don't want to clear off this 4/10 because it will just be put back into your deck, putting you even further ahead in fatigue.
So he really needs to get this board cleared first of all, and then he needs to get that Alexstrasza being played, and also still needs to find his Anduin, which he has not found. And equally, Anduin could be very good at clearing away the tokens that good ping can clear off. Up to at least 5 of them inside of a turn. It still leaves Falcone with some, and you can see the nod ahead. Falcone, this is what he wants, is that Psychic Scream. He's going to go all in, but
this also
going to happen again.
Yeah, Falcone acknowledges there was a Psychic Scream. He didn't go solve the Forest because he knows that this turn he can opt to go for the option of Whispering Woods, solve the Forest, and that basically just replenishes the board. Does already have a Savage Roar in hand. So knowing that 1 Psychic Scream's been used already, he will know that's from Shadow Vision, so potentially it could be another one. But even if DeadDraw has another one, he definitely has to use it this turn, otherwise he would be facing down lethal damage.
So the board clear will be implemented, and there's another board clear as well being picked up, which does get the activation as Alexstrasza is also in the hand. So it's looking good for DeadDraw.
Yeah, clearing the board just isn't enough for DeadDraw though, because in this matchup you have to be the aggressor. You have to be the one killing Falcone, because Falcone does have the hero power already, and Psychic Scream means course, that he's going to be losing in fatigue, and he's going to be losing because Falcone can go for the option of just armoring up every single turn, getting out of range of DeadDraw's burst, and DeadDraw's still, as you did say, no Anduin, and that's really bad because he has both these Mind Blasts, but he really doesn't want to play those because you don't get the pings yet.
So, just looking at the way that the armor gain has really went, not in so much of Falcone's favor, he hasn't found any of the big ones to say. So there's still a potential for DeadDraw to actually finish out this series, start going for that aggressive plays and getting his Mind Blast in and about, and also we know that the backup of Holy Fire is always going to be another good option as well. So is this looking not too bad for DeadDraw? Not too bad.
It's looking shaky, I'd say. I wouldn't say
it could be a lot worse.
Position.
It could be a lot worse.
Could be a lot worse. He could be dead. I mean, that would be the worst scenario here. But Falcone actually
could be playing against you. Even worse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you keep up with your odd paladin, which has been so good currently.
Yeah, I'm a very good odd paladin player, as I would say so myself. Not to toot my own horn or anything.
Oh no, but by all means, you go here. Instead of tooting the horn, why don't you ring the bell?
DeadDraw, another Psychic Scream. He's had 3. Is he cheating? No, because
Shadow Vision.
he got some more Shadow
What a
Visions.
card. I remember when that card came out, a lot of people were saying, oh, useless. It's been one of the best cards that Priest has gotten in a long time.
Yeah, it's a very just insane card. It just clears off the entire board, basically. But it does have a downside, is that your opponent does get those cards back, so you can't just draw them, play them back down.
But then again, they're just, they're very small minions where you don't, if there's a possibility that Falcone could either draw a Soul of the Forest or draw a Wisp, that's, the deciding factor of if he wins the game or loses it.
DeadDraw just hasn't found anything great. He just really needs this Anduin, and Falcone can just play it as slow as possible. He knows he's always going to win the fatigue, but he will just continue to pressure and force DeadDraw to keep answering his board turn after turn. And that turn, DeadDraw actually had to Holy Fire a 2-1 Giggle Inventor. Can you believe it?
I can. That's just a scary card.
Yeah, it is. Not so scary in Token Druid because they can't bounce or anything, but it is scary because
this is Quest Rogue. Oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear. But every minion you live up on the Token Druid side, it will eventually get buffed by Savage Roar, and you could be taking a whole load of damage.
Pyro, not too bad here, but then again, he has to waste a Mind Blast as well if he wants to clear off this board entirely. And as you can see, Falcone, he's starting to count the numbers. He's starting to see if he can potentially have lethal if this board does not get cleared, which in Token, you always have to make sure that board is cleared because all of a sudden, double Savage Roar comes out, plus the hero power coming out from the Malfurion, then you're dead.
Also, Strong Style Scavenger can basically act as a pseudo Savage Roar in this scenario because it does just do the same thing plus the Annoyatrons. But on 29 life, with only 3 minions on the Token Druid board, DeadDraw's not in any fear of dying, to be honest. It's very unlikely that happens. Falcone will just play down the Saronite Chain Gang with the Strong Shell Scavenger, just making another big board, forcing DeadDraw to have another Psychic Scream. He will know that there is potentially another Psychic Scream because whenever a card is discovered from Shadow Visions, you will know that is the card from Shadow Vision.
And especially the fact that he has drawn no Anduin yet he draws the Psychic Screams. That's massive for him. So in this scenario, yeah, certainly Psychic Scream is a whole lot better to draw than your Anduin. And like we talked about, this just gives more dead draws into Falcone's deck.
So Falcone, he has to be wary of overcommitting because if all your minions get Psychic Scream, then of course your draws do get a bit worse because you can be drawing just Wisps and stuff like that. And this also gives DeadDraw an opportunity to get back on board if he just goes Psychic Scream into development.
Great pickup.
Dustbreaker is a very great pickup.
See, this is the perfect thing that's happened for Boar, and this is where Falcone is going to start to get tilted. The fact that every single board that Falcone has tried, he's got Psychic Scream 3 times, and in the final time where he knows, okay, there's no more Psychic Screams, let's go all in, and then he tops decks the Dustbreaker. But then again, Pyromancer was there, and we said all these Psychic Screams is going to make it so much harder for Falcone because he's just going to keep picking up these useless wisps in this scenario.
Yeah, there are a lot of wisps, but there are some relatively big minions in the deck.
7, so you get like 12 or 10
There's a lot of wisps, and there's a lot of Sirenite chain gangs as well.
And Annoyotrons.
Yeah, and all of Annoyotrons. So it's very unlikely that Falcone will draw into the cards he wants, such as the Ultimate Infestations, the Nourishes.
Solar Forest has really hurt him as well.
This was kind of a downside of Falcone just making such a big board. Maybe he didn't have to commit so much onto the board, just make a few minions, just keep pressuring every turn. I think he maybe got a bit eager to end out the game as quickly as possible, just didn't respect the third Psychic Scream coming down. He was like, all right, there's 2. Maybe he probably hasn't had a third, but as it stands now, DeadDraw actually slowly just getting back onto the board.
Yeah.
He can use this Divine Hymn to heal back up his minions if they ever get damaged lower. And Falcone, slowly, the game's slipping out of his hands. But still...
Pass good, because that gives him armor.
Yep. Still no Anduin for DeadDraw. Anduin's one of the
cards that's been there for quite a long time as well.
Yeah, it has. He just hasn't really found a turn to use it because Falcone is actually down to 17 HP already, and Alexstrasza wouldn't do that much to help DeadDraw. It'd just be committing his whole turn, which
just a big minion though. You can't complain with no naturalizes inside of Falcone's deck either.
Yep, definitely a big minion. Falcone just, he knows that DeadDraw doesn't have that many minions in deck. Like typically the priest doesn't run that much stuff, and he knows that a lot of it's been used. You've already seen the Cabal Shadow Priest. The Cabal Shadow Priest, and he has seen a Primordial Drake already, along with some Twilight Drakes. So he knows there's not much left in DeadDraw's deck in terms of minions. He's very happy that there hasn't been the Anduin come down, because he is getting to a relatively low life total now. He does have the branching paths.
This is lethal. Oh, is it? No, that just nullifies that lethal, because then he can go for the double Divine Hymn.
Yep.
That was a lot of damage in the hand. That's what.
There was a lot of damage in Falcone's hand. He did have the option to go Savage Draw and Branching Paths for attacks, so DeadDraw did need a draw that
I believe that's
keep him alive.
26 damage that Falcone has.
He has.
I think it's 26.
He's got. All right, let's count it up. There's 8 plus 6, 14 plus 9 is 23, 26 plus the hero power.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are correct.
Cool.
Very good.
Oh.
Very good. I'll give you an 8 star for that.
Not just a pretty face.
Yeah. But
more than just a cast.
DeadDraw actually not opting to use the second Divine Hymn, so Falcone actually just has lethal.
Dead.
He's just dead.
That's going to be a bit of a sickener, I would say, for DeadDraw. Falcone, oh, big sigh of relief for him.
Yep.
As he does come back on the bounce with 2 quick matches. And we are going all the way into the 3rd series, and we will finish this with our Odd Rogue versus the Control Priest once again.
So as DeadDraw, you do know that Falcone has been holding this Savage Roar for a long time. It's been at the left of his hand, but I guess he just wasn't expecting another card such as Savage Roar, the Branching Paths. He just didn't expect that.
He was expecting more Wisps, which he was quite lucky at
dodging. Just expecting a bad card, and he just really wanted to hold on to that Divine Hymn because he could get that Anduin. The Divine Hymn would mean an extra ping, but might have been a bit greedy by him because he just does end up dying. Although Falcone wasn't that far off if he just decided to use all his damage that turn. Maybe he'd end the game through the Malfearing Hero Pass. And the Priest takes another loss. We are going to be going to Game 5. I said this would be a close series, and it definitely will be. One more match left. It will be the Odd Rogue versus the Control Priest. And I wouldn't say it's that bad for either player. I think either player is not unhappy with this. They're just fine with this. Neither player is happy. It just depends on if DeadDraw can do what he did in the even lock game against the Odd Rogue, just stifle.
That was a very quick game.
Stifle.
It was the quickest matchup we had.
Stifle the early game. He does have the gluttonous ooze and the control priest. You definitely want that card against Odd Rogue. That's just one of the key cards in the deck. He has got kind of an anti-aggro control priest because he does have the Giggly Inventor, and the Odd Rogue that Falcone has only has one Blood Knight.
Ooh. Pretty good hand for Falcone right off the bat. He has the 1-drop.
Yeah,
And he has 2 of the big threats.
Pretty good hand for Falcone, but with the Vicious Fledgling, you really want to be on the coin for that. You want to coin the Vicious Fledgling out as quickly as possible and get that adapt attack
Fledgling against Priest is horrific for Priest.
Yeah. So I don't mind Falcone keeping the whole hand here. You do have the 1-drop into the Hero Pie, the Henchland Fog, or even the Vicious Fledgling. But DeadDraw's hand isn't too bad himself. He does have this Wild Pyromancer along with the coin, which is very good. Wild Pyromancer basically just gives you a free spell to activate the ability, and also if you picked up something like a Powered Shield, it could turn out to be a very good board player.
Also has an activated Duskbreaker there.
Yeah, he had the Duskbreaker, didn't have the activated just yet, but he drew the...
A lot of good stuff there for DeadDraw. He picks up the stream.
Yep.
Has the Drake. So it's looking like a pretty good curve for him in terms of board clear. And we know that Rogue all develops on their early stage presence that they have, going in with the Fogs, going in, you know, with the Fledglings as well.
But this Henchland Fog is going to be a problem for DeadDraw because Priest, in history, has never been good at dealing with 4 attack minions or, just 4 attack minions in general.
DeadDraw doesn't have any hard removal. He doesn't have Pain, doesn't have Shadow Word Death, you know. Yeah. There's nothing
also,
there he has to worry about.
Doesn't align well with the Duskbreaker as well.
Yeah.
4 health, not great. Duskbreaker only does 3.
So it's literally Scream is the only thing that DeadDraw really needs to get to. No ramp for Priest, only one class gets that.
So Falcone does opt to go for the Henchman Fog. I agree with this. DeadDraw just plays down the Acolyte of Pain because he knows that his hand needs a bit more gas to it, needs a bit more removal maybe.
That's good.
Twilight Acolyte definitely
very
the card
good.
he was looking for. He wants to swap this attack just to prevent a bit more damage.
But then again, he could just keep getting buffed.
Yep, and it also means that the Twilight Acolyte actually contests the board right now because there's no real good way on board for Falcone to deal with this minion. He has to commit the Cold Blood onto the Argent Squad just to clean this off, whereas that Cold Blood could have been used later on onto the Vicious Fledgling.
Which does get killed off by the Duskbreaker as well, but the Thug will be here to stay.
Although you have taken the Thug's attack, every weapon swing just keeps buffing
up.
Get
get back up to that 4 attack in no time.
The Twilight Acolyte unfortunately doesn't change the health of the Thug, so it still lives, even when the Duskbreaker was played.
Geist is a really good pickup as well inside of his matchup. Like we've seen previously, I believe it was it earlier? Where it was the Evenlock had the Geist as well.
Yeah, the Evenlock did have the Geist. It took away the Deadly Poisons and the Cold Bloods from Falcone. And the Falcone has a pretty weak turn here. He actually can't clear off the Duskbreaker, meaning the Duskbreaker can trade with the Henchland Fog. Henchland Fog does get another attack in. DeadDraw going down to 18, but I think going down to 18 here is quite fine because looking at DeadDraw's hand, he has decent plays every single turn. You can go with this Wild Pyromancer. You can go Shadow Visions, maybe pick up a Powered Shield. Powered Shield would mean that he cleans up these 1/2 Flame Elementals and Fireflies.
Oh, here we go.
Hits it straight away.
That was the quickest discover. Production didn't even get a time to look at the options. That's how quick that was.
Yeah. And I think that DeadDraw just had enough to just clean up the early game. Even if Falcone plays down one big minion here, he does have that Holy Fire, which will just clean up this Edwin if he chooses to do so.
Edwin's always been a great staple in Rogue. That's one of the best cards. It's a lot more stronger. I would say back, in Miracle days, we had a lot more different cards that could really use and abuse in most circumstances.
Definitely. And DeadDraw just has a great curve right now. I think he's had a great curve
I've
the
seen
entire
that
game.
since his opening hand. You could see, you know, 7 Psychic Scream into Drake, and then he also picked up Anduin as well, which is massive.
There was just this one turn for Falcone where he didn't do much. He just had a load of 1-drops in his hand, and he just ended up hero powering face. The henchman folk went face, and his whole board just really got cleared up by the Wild Pyromancer and the Power Word Shield. And it's looking very tough for Falcone. A good thing for Falcone is that the Cabal Shadow Priest does get picked up, does get played, and does take the Divine Shielded Argent Squire, meaning that his Blood Knight had an activator along with the Vile Spine Slayer. So Falcone has built up quite a big board, but we can see 2 Psychic Screams, an Anduin. So
Do you go for Scream here or Anduin?
it's interesting. I think that playing the Anduin does mean that you forego the 2-mana
Ping. Yep.
the 2-mana heal hero power, because maybe there is a situation where you die. So I think the Psychic Scream here is fine because it clears off everything. If you went Anduin, you wouldn't be able to clear off the free-fall Vile Spine Slayer, and I think the only situation where you lose this game is if you just die. I think that you can always regain the board and clear off minions because you do have this Primordial Drake, you have the Anduin, you have another Scream.
Just seen Falcone's face
Yeah.
just take a real dive there as the Geist comes down, gets rid of. Basically, this is the exact same thing which happened earlier inside of the Evenlock matchup. And it's happened to you again, my
Because
friend.
it takes out the Cold Bloods and the Deadly Poisons. So Falcone was really hoping for maybe like a Myra for his whole deck. He has this Leroy, maybe like
Myra's
Cold
a really
Blood.
good out for him at the moment.
If he had like Leroy, Cold Blood plus the Deadly Poisons, then maybe he could win this game.
Yeah.
But those options getting
Too much
taken out
stuff.
by the Skull King guys.
Like,
and
look at his hand.
yeah, DeadDraw just has a lot. He just managed to take control of the early minions that Falcone put down, and he's just come down into a position where he can just play his big minions, which Falcone can't deal with because he's already played both Vile Spine Slayers. Fungalmancer was a nice pickup because there was 2 minions on board which could get buffed straight away, and Dag Hit just pushes another 2. But looking at DeadDraw's hand, I think that it's very hard for Falcone to get back into this if he doesn't draw Myras in like the next turn basically. And I still think it'll be hard in that position.
He is just going to get another big body on the board, along with one to get some clear attempted, as he will be able to get rid of that board.
DeadDraw goes for the Wild Pyromancer Cleric into Divine Him, and he draws a load of cards, heals himself up for 6, clears the entire board, pushes a bit of damage.
Myras.
And let's see what Falcone draws. It has to be Myra's here, otherwise it's looking bleak. I mean, there's double Mind Blast in DeadDraw's hand, so maybe like DeadDraw's the aggro player now.
If only that was Questro. That would have been good. But yeah, that's rough. Oh, more rough. Big old Alex Raza.
DeadDraw's just basically going for the way that he can end out the game most quickly, maybe. I don't think he's scared of dying this turn. It's really hard to die with 17 when there's no Cold Bloods, no Deadly Poisons, and only 2 cards available for Falcone in the following turn.
Myras.
So he just goes for the most aggressive play, Alex Straza's.
What?
But what can Myras even get?
That was rough for Falcone. He had 2 outs there to potentially get his Myras. Didn't go that way, and DeadDraw will take his first win at his first ever LAN event. So well done to DeadDraw. Knocks out Falcone into the losers bracket. And it's going to be Falcone versus Board Control, and then DeadDraw versus Paradox in the next matchups.
Well then, boys. We have the victory in the end. And it looked like, for a brief smidgen there, that Falcone was going to take it, but no. Unfortunately, he does lose the series like he lost his pen. Unfortunately, Jacob, our admin, cannot bail him out of this one.
Where's my pen, Jackie?
I left it over there,
course you
and
did.
you can't have it back.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad.
I've gone full Falcone on you. Not ideal, but there we have it. That is going to be the victory picked up, and it was a long one, boys. The whole hog, just like yesterday, really, to kick it off. And what went on there? What occurred?
It was just really just the Odd Warrior. That just shows the meta at the moment is where it's based around Odd Warrior. It takes so long to physically get through all of that early armor game, and then, of course, the value that Dr. Boom can add to it just makes it for a big old, just long, aggressive game where it's just who knows where it's going to go, and then eventually DeadDraw did finish it out.
Yeah, so DeadDraw did go to a quick 2-0 start, but his priest struggled quite a bit. Hit the Odd Warrior, took a loss there. Also hit the Token Druid, and that was a really close game, but Falcone managed to pull it out in the end after a long battle with Psychic Screams. And in the last matchup, somehow, the priest got the win. It just managed to end Falcone's early game, and just got into the later stages of the game where he just kept healing up as Priest does, and keep clearing the board, and Falcone just ran out of stuff.
Yeah, the Druid Priest game, that was a good one, actually.
Yeah,
that was
I enjoyed
going
that.
down to the wire. It had a lot of interesting moments, especially from Falcone. Thought there was going to be some surprises coming out. Something that may be a surprise for you guys at home as well is the fact that Big Ben wasn't big enough to take down Duncan. He has been melted down, and M&M suffered their first casualty as he will be going out of the tournament in a 3-1 victory to Duncan. Any thoughts on that one, boys?
I mean, Big Ben won the Prem last season, so we won't get a back-to-back champion. And it also makes the chances of a person to win the Prem twice even less, because Ball Control's the only person left in the current Prem that's won before. He won Season 1. And he's now down in the lower brackets and will be facing Falcone shortly.
Yeah, that could be quite a deadly affair if we lose both our former champions.